You're muted, Kayla.
Hi everyone. Hi Timberly. Panelists are coming on and they will slowly be turning on their video. Thank you so much for joining us for the follow-up call to our Q&A series. There were a few of you that had reached out to me asking for a follow-up call, and here we are. So now we have started our seasons. We've had guests come in. We've put into practice all those things that we've talked about so many times. Hi, Jim. Hi, Clint. Hi, Timberly. So yeah, let's get started. So this is going to be pretty informal. I mean, just like the other ones, we have a couple special guests. We have an RN who is currently working at Two Inlets Resort, who's going to update us on some COVID things. And then we also have Joel Carlson whenever he hops on, who will be updating us on legislative things.
I'm here.
Oh, good. Hi, Joel. Hi. So panelists, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you all, and then you'll go ahead and take care of your own volume controls, mute yourselves until you're ready to speak, just so you're on when you want to. Same with video. I think, yeah, you all are in control of your own video. So we're waiting for a few more people, but I think let's just go ahead and get started. So Clint, can I turn it over to you to welcome everyone and do some membership updates? Oh, you're muted. Let me.
Yep, I got my mute button off, sorry.
That's okay.
All right, so welcome everybody to the Community Minnesota Resorts question and answers. I don't know what else to tell you as far as that goes. We'll try to answer all the questions best we can, best our ability, up to everything with that we're supposed to know. We did send out on membership. We have just in the last probably week sent out a statewide free membership to all resorts in the state of Minnesota. So if you have a neighbor resort that's not a member, or if you are not currently a member, you should have gotten that in the mail via snail mail, or it should be coming if you don't have it already. So when you get that, and if you'd like to join our organization, which we'd love to have you as members, fill that information out and get it back to Jim Worley. Free membership through August 2021 for every resort in the state of Minnesota, no matter how big, how small. We'd love to have you on board to help with this, just your knowledge, your input, just be part of the group.
Awesome. Clint, how has your season started so far?
A lot of cancellations, been quiet. I have an empty camp this week, really? But starting next week, June, or first week in June, we fill up and we're full going into 4th of July. So that's good. Just a little slow now. Patty just told me she had a few that wanted to call and cancel, but she talked them into coming, telling them all the steps we're taking to ensure that they'll be safe while they're here. So they stayed on, thank God, or that would have been a couple more cabins we would have lost.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of, but the phone is ringing. We are picking up a few people later on in the season. We had a couple cancellations she managed to refill. So it's kind of, I guess, what I expected. I'm hoping after maybe July 4th, we get really busy. People will be more comfortable getting out and about. So I don't know, I guess, see once what happens. It's all you can do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, since this is pretty informal, why don't we just go around to the different panelists and kind of just check in and see how each of you are doing. Maybe one thing that stands out to you that has gone really, really well, maybe something unexpected or not. And one thing that you thought you were going to do, but you've completely just dropped it. Does that sound good to get started while we're kind of just waiting for people to hop on? Timberly, you want to go?
So I'm kind of like Clint. We've had some big groups that have canceled, and our big reunion cabin has had some cancellations in it. So, but we also are getting calls. So we're starting to fill some of those back up. So I'm hopeful that, I don't know, I thought it was going to be bad, but then when it started getting the calls, it was like, oh shoot, that's real. So it's been kind of hard. I hate answering the phone now. I don't even want to answer the phone. But yeah, but we're getting calls. So that's, I mean, I just keep the thing I found is hard now is people are wanting deals, like last minute deals, like what's your special, and so that's something I want to kind of bounce out there. Like, are people gonna give specials to try and fill those spots? I hate doing it, but there's a lot of empty holes. So something that we plan to do is to keep the lodge closed all summer, and we after the opening weekend we're like, not gonna happen. It's just so anti-resort. I couldn't do it. Like, I miss just that being next to people and talking. So we now just have 3 hours that it's open during the day, so people can come in, look around if they need to, but it's closed most of the day. So that helps. And actually I kind of like it. So I may kind of keep that going. It's kind of nice to have just a few hours where they're coming in. We'll see. But it was really hard that first weekend. Just do you fist bump? Do you elbow bump? Do you high five it? Like, I don't know where everyone's at, and I just want to like hug you. So it's been hard. It's been hard. Everybody's at a different spot, and it's like, I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
Yeah, I hear you. I've been doing lots of like namaste.
Hey.
Anyway, okay, Jim, do you want to update us?
Sure. We had a really busy Memorial weekend. We were full, except campers, of course. We did lose a number of camper reservations because of the state mandate. Otherwise, our season is tracking pretty good. We let our guests know ahead of time what we were doing and what we wanted them to do, and they were real accepting of those things and have been thus far. We did have a few cancellations, but the phone is ringing. There's going to be, in my opinion, a lot of last minute requests. We are not discounting. Nobody's really asked that, but I'm quoting my prices off our rate sheet. So, it's tracking pretty good. We're a little bit behind last year, but I'm not worried about it at this point. One thing that hasn't worked, in my opinion, we put up a plexiglass screen in the store, and it doesn't matter who's there. We always talk around it. So that screen is really just there to be there. And, I guess they see it and they acknowledge it, and then they step around it and talk to us, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that. Mm-hmm. Our guests have been glad to get out, eager to enjoy the lake, and very anticipatory to get here. So that's all positive.
That's great. So would you drop the plexiglass screen, or are you going to keep it?
We'll keep it, just, I guess, for appearance sake, because I think that some guests may stand behind it when they come to the store, but up to this point, really the only thing we're doing with it is exchanging cash under the plexi.
Sure.
And that isn't all the time. It's when they feel like they want to do it. So.
Okay. Kim, well, thank you, Jim. Kim, how are you? Did I spring this on you? Yeah, you. Are you muted? Do I have to? Maybe try it out. There you go.
You did. You sprung it on me.
Oh,
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, great. I don't really have, I should have my son-in-law and stepdaughter talk about it, because they are really stepping up to the plate with laundry and linens and juggling all of that stuff. Oh my gosh. Wow. So let me see. So we did something a little different. I wanted to push people who were on the fence about coming or not. So 2 weeks ago, we sent out a big communication about, here's the steps. If you guys don't watch Facebook, which not everybody does, we sent out an email to every single person on the books. And remember, we have 19 cabins, so we've got a lot of people. And I just wanted to push people off the fence. Are you coming or you're not? Because I wanted a lot more time. If they were going to not come, I want to know now. So that pushed them. I have to say, we've gotten 37 cancellations in the last 2 weeks. So it's been some sleepless nights here. So I keep trying to repeat what my husband says all the time. Yeah, but we still have a lot of people coming. So that's true. We do. And I had a big group that I canceled last weekend for Memorial Day weekend. And then we got filled in again. So we had about 12 cabins of people, which was good. And then this past weekend was our big Spring Healers Retreat weekend, wherein we're always all 19 cabins full of all kinds of singles. Had to cancel that. So we had maybe 5 or 6 cabins full for that. But now this next weekend, I think we're going to be doing okay. So one of the things in spraying down cabins, one of the things that I've noticed is in spraying our non-toxic EPA approved hydrogen peroxide, I'm noticing I can't spray everything down. It kind of slops all over. So I think what I'm going to do is maybe try to spray everything, at least the mattress pads and the bedding, that kind of thing, maybe first or as soon as I can get in there before cleaning crew gets in, so that I'm not having to go back in again to repolish chrome. And I'm not sure. We're just kind of playing with that a little bit. Trying to fit all those steps in has been a little tricky. So we're kind of playing around with that. But the bedding thing, do it yourself, make your own beds. Nobody's had trouble with that at all. In fact, I'm thinking, maybe next year.
Are you literally like laying your sheets on the bed and making them do it?
So we're sealing them up in a clear plastic bag, and I'm putting a piece of paper, a flyer on the outside saying, hey, we are resorters. We're trying to take this COVID thing seriously. We hope you appreciate that inside this bag are guaranteed sanitized and sealed bedding for you. So here's a set of sheets. Here's one blanket. Here's a set of pillows with slips and pillowcases. Boom. There you go. Do it yourself. We hope you don't mind making your own bed here. And just letting them know also that we change out the shower curtains every time anyway, the pot holders anyway, the rugs anyway, just kind of detailing it out so those nitpicky ones are a little bit more assured. And then I also, every time a few days before anybody arrives, I have that little reminder, hey, bring your own blankets, because that's been the thing that's been kicking. People are forgetting to bring extra blankets. We've got plenty of heaters. They've been fine. But I keep editing that little notice, hey, bring your own blankets if you think you might want some. So otherwise it's working great.
Yeah. Okay. So Olson's, do you want to go next? I mean, he looks happy right now.
Yeah, sure.
I liked your background to begin with. What happened to that?
I don't know. I defaulted and it was kind of weird. It's just kind of bugging out, so we took it off. But yeah, I don't know. We're off to a start anyway. It's been good though. I mean, the main thing is it's kind of felt a little bit normal. I mean, people are social distancing, and we have our lodge set up to where it's kind of barricaded off. They can point to what they want. For sweatshirts, some people just walk around it anyways. But it's a little bit more feeling like we're doing something. But it's also kind of felt pretty normal too. People have been just relaxing, and resorts are great for this kind of thing. So, and then want to add, Adam?
Yeah, no, we've done a lot of the same precautions and sanitation, and we built sanitation stations around with some buckets, and we were able to get some wipes, and so we didn't think we'd be able to get those, and so we got them, which was really nice, and then made our own sanitizer out of Everclear, which we had to bootleg out of North Dakota because you can't get it in Minnesota. So we did that. That was nice. But I mean, one thing that I thought was really going to be different was I really thought people were going to be standoffish a little bit and not want to talk to you. But for the most part, like Kelly said, it's almost felt normal, except for the cancellations that we've had and feeling the effects of that. But everybody's just excited to get up, and you can almost see a breath of fresh air go into them when they're launching their boat and out fishing, and you can see that tension just melt away. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's great. Well, funny enough, thank you, Adam and Kelly, thank you. I have Joanna right next to me because she's actually vacationing at our resort. So I'm just gonna turn my computer to her.
Hi, everyone. We're taking something I would recommend if you can steal away. 2 days at Two Inlets Resort for my family is kind of feeling great. So anyway, my kids are swimming with my husband, and I'm going to jump on. Gosh, I kind of echo everything everyone said. Cancellations, yes. lots. Filling back in, yes, some. So I think that's going to maybe even out or be okay for us. We're kind of looking at our PPP in a way, as long as our cancellations aren't more than that, then I guess we're going to be okay for this year. So our processes have felt real clumsy, I'll be honest. I agree with what everybody said, that it does feel kind of normal. When everybody gets here, the outdoor stuff, the boats, the toys, that's all felt fine, good, normal. We're sanitizing and checking in and out all of our paddles and life jackets, and that's kind of a pain. But one of our brilliant staff said, that pool could be your sanitizing dip. So we're using our closed pool, which is chlorinated, to dip paddles in. So for those of you at the pool, that's where we're dipping everything, which kind of works great. I will look forward to opening the pool, but for now it's working. We have not opened our lodge, and I would love to hear more about that from those who have, because we're not sure people can rethink how they're used to using the space, you know, and I don't want to tell them to leave. That feels super uncomfortable to me. Very anti-resort, like Tim really said. So we have a order window and a pickup window outside, which works pretty well. And then we did set up internet workstations because we don't have internet in the cabins, and we're not going to put it in the cabins. So we have internet workstations set up inside so people can come in and work at a workstation, and people have been using those. I'm having a little trouble navigating masks, to be honest, for my staff. So I'm curious, and my cleaners are completely uninterested in masks. I've offered them all the PPE, and they have all declined. And I'm not going to make them by any means. I'm not going to wear a mask when I clean. So my lodge staff, however, feels very cautious. So I'm trying to honor their caution. So I don't like wearing a mask when I'm taking orders. It feels really clumsy for me. We did put up, so our ordering counter is really deep to keep people back. And then we did add plexiglass. It blocks the window, so we can't go around it, which is probably good because, like Jim was saying, I think when you can go around it, you do. So we added plexiglass, which I think helps people feel comfortable. And we haven't really done check-in and outs in a formal way because we've kind of had, I don't know, we've done them, but we're not sure if we're going to be masking and inviting people in or what. And I'm curious what people are thinking about that. Part of me is thinking I will ask people, would you like me to wear a mask while we settle your bill? Then part of me thinks, I'm setting them up to feel like pressure to say, no, you don't have to. I don't know. I don't know what to do on that one. So that's where we're at.
Thanks, Joanna. This feels really funny. Well, I appreciate, everyone speaking up and saying where they're at. If I missed anyone on the panelists who's not on video, feel free to speak up. So I would love if Joel's ready to hop to Joel. Oh, Joel! Oh, I love you. So he can say his part, and then if you're busy and need to get moving, then that's fine. And then we'll go into, just further Cracker Barrel questions for Joel. Then we'll turn it over to Matt, our resident RN, and then we'll just, see how everyone's doing, where everyone's at. So I'm going to go ahead and panelists, if you want to just turn off your own video, feel free. Otherwise, I will slowly turn off your videos. And then Joel, I'm going to turn it over to you. How are you?
Okay. I'm excellent, safe, and I hope everyone is as well. From COVID now, I'm watching you, Kayla. Can everybody hear me fine?
I think so.
Okay, I'm watching your hand signals, making sure everybody can hear.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I'm so terrible at introducing because I'm like, oh, everyone knows Joel. This is Joel Carlson. He is our Community of Minnesota Resorts lobbyist. So he is in the weeds constantly for us. So thank you, Joel.
Yep. Anyway, so as we worked our way through a closed capital and COVID-19, we then found ourselves in the last week with civil unrest. And and strife. And I'm sitting outside right now in the Midway in St. Paul. And if you happen to hear a helicopter come over, that has been a frequent visitor in St. Paul. My office downtown has been surrounded by the National Guard. My clients, like the soccer stadium, have had, and the soccer team have had to have constant police protection from not the peaceful protests, which we're all understanding of, but really the rioters and those that are here to cause destruction. And it's been very tense in the cities. I was home over the weekend and came back yesterday, and it's a very tense environment in St. Paul. As you know from reading the reports that I've sent out, we didn't conclude the legislative session with a lot of accomplishments. They didn't do a tax bill. They didn't do a bonding bill. They didn't do the LCCMR Environmental Trust Fund bill. They did get a few things done, and I want to touch on them because they do impact our tourism and our membership. But they basically have waited until a special session, which is going to take place at some point after June 12th. I believe the governor will extend the peacetime emergency, not so much related to business closures, which I think will continue, but so that he can do other things that are of a more emergency nature. And I think, quite frankly, that's going to be extended every 30 days for a series of months. I don't think that that's going to end in June. And so we are going to have this with us for some time. We don't know what the activities of the last week will bring as far as spikes in the COVID-19 outbreaks in Minnesota, but we anticipate it will be something. And so we're just watchful for that. When they do get to a special session, they hope to address a tax bill. Many of you are living in counties where the county has voluntarily extended the May 15th property tax payments. They legislatively have tried to do that as well without success, but I believe that that will be part of the final mix, so that if a county didn't extend it, I think they'll waive penalties if people weren't able to pay them on time. And one bill that we actively worked on and can take a little bit of credit for, and we're just happy that it happened. The Department of Labor and Industry, after our education efforts with them, did agree to write some language to support 16 and 17-year-old using more powered lawn equipment and riding mowers. And I've sent that out to the board, and I think it got distributed to everyone. I'm happy to put a link up for everybody if they want to see it on the chat. But it is something that we've worked on for several years, and the department and the commissioner called and thanked us for our thoughtful advocacy on the issue, and that led them to support language to allow that to happen. As you notice, as you read the bill, it only applies to a couple of industries, resorts, golf courses, and city and municipalities, people where you can do it on a specific location. You're not just getting sent out into the neighborhood to terrain you don't know. You don't have on-site training like you do in the 3 businesses that they allowed this to take place. And so we're really thankful for that. I do feel for everybody. I know, I thought of when Timberly was talking about wanting to hug her guests, I thought of the happy hugger, Leo Biscaglia, and I'm sure Kim Bowen will remember Dr. Biscaglia and his approach to healing. And I know that thought is out there. I want to shake hands with people. I haven't personally been in the Capitol since the 12th of March. And after 40 years working in that building, it's been extremely challenging, to say the least. So that's kind of my report, Kayla. I'm happy to answer questions. It's just been an extremely difficult time. I'm glad we got to the Capitol when we did, and we're able to talk to as many people as we were able to. I don't know how promptly tourism is going to bounce back. But I do think that you're in a position where people that can travel on a tank of gas, may take advantage of your openings, and I hope that's the case. And with that, I'm happy to answer questions, and I'm happy to see all the faces on the screen if they all want to open back up. It's always hard to talk to this when you don't get any feedback. So anyway, thank you, Kayla, and I'm happy to answer questions on the chat or directly from everybody else. So.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much, Joel. We used to live right in Midway, and so my heart is just like hurting for our neighborhood. So I'm glad you're safe, and
yeah.
Oh, it just feels so crazy, to be quite honest.
Yeah, it's been a challenge, from every single one of my clients, I think that I worked with, were impacted it somehow from the, from the closure order, not just to stay at home, but their businesses being closed, whether it was restaurants or, court reporters, lawyers, everybody was impacted by it. So in addition to having to figure out a legislative session remotely when you couldn't really be in the room, and lobbying is kind of a hand-to-hand combat, as we've told people about Day on the Hill, you got to be there to do it. So you layer on a remote session on top of all the other business problems that people were experiencing, and it's just been a real crush of work. And now the national strife that we're experiencing isn't making life any less stressful. So I feel for everyone. I think being at the lake is the best place to be right now, and I hope people take advantage of it, and continue to be safe. And so it's just been a struggle, especially if you drive down University Avenue right now and see the burned out buildings and the destruction and the graffiti. It's just it's sad and sickening, and Minneapolis has got it even worse. So the stadium, which I represent, they burned the Midway shopping mall down right next to it, and they staged out of the parking lot. The fire crew and the police crew staged out of the parking lot around the stadium. And that's really the only thing I think that kept them from getting to that building too. So it's very, very disturbing.
Yeah, it's just crazy. Lloyd's Pharmacy, right down, I don't know, Snelling-ish. Yeah. We used to stop there after daycare and get shakes, and yeah it's just crazy.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, go ahead. No.
There's a link on the Minneapolis Tribune website that has a running total of all the businesses that have been damaged and looted and vandalized. And it is stunning when you go through it. I mean, when you go in downtown St. Paul right now, the businesses are boarded up. They are, all of their windows are covered with plywood. And I think that it is a little less calm right now. There's going to be a funeral service for Mr. Floyd on Thursday, and I don't know what that will bring, but people don't really think we're that we've put it all behind us yet and are ready to move on to healing. I don't know if we're there yet, and I personally can't watch those videos. I don't like looking at it. I've seen the picture of the police officer way too many times, but I can't watch that video. But it is problematic. I'm not afraid, but there hasn't been a lot of legislative things that have gone on to all of this turmoil, so I haven't put out a lot of information. And you want to be super sensitive about it because you don't want to say the wrong thing that someone takes the wrong way either. So I've been just waiting for, waiting for the right time to re-engage because it's just very sensitive right now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really interesting, actually. I mean, we have a lot of guests a lot of friends right now that have been coming up here and there, and they had already planned to come, but they'll just come like a day early now to get out of the cities.
Right.
And I think we're gonna kind of find that more and more guests are in that space. I'm not sure about everyone else. But that's what I'm kind of finding right now, that we have some extra guests just from, trying to, I don't know, they're worried about their kids and asthma and
Right.
just need a space to breathe for a second.
I'm just reading through the chat comments to make sure there weren't any questions there that I was supposed to.
Sure. Yeah.
Joel, I have one question for you.
Yes, sir.
Can you explain the process of that bill for the mowers, 16 and 17-year-old? I know it went through the House, went through the Senate. What's the future process?
What is the
future process in terms of approval of it?
Yeah, it's done. It's been signed by the governor. It's Senate File 3358, and it's in effect right now. I went back, Jim, and looked at the last email that I had sent out to the group about it. What happened is there was a bill that Senator Ruud was carrying to allow younger workers to work at the Paul Bunyan Kitty Land. As they were talking about that, the department had mentioned to Senator Ruud that she'd been working with us on greater use of youth workers at the at resorts, and they were very happy with the approach that we had taken to that issue. And the department wrote an amendment to her amusement ride bill that they supported, that basically is everything that we said we wanted to do as far as training, only on our property, those types of things. They offered it as an amendment on the Senate floor. It passed unanimously. It went over to the House, and at the close of the session, they added the youth lawnmower amendment onto a bill. Representative Fabian added it as an amendment onto the amusement ride bill, and they sent it back to the Senate. It was approved and sent to the governor. So, so it's been signed. It is done, and it was effective the day after enactment, which was, I believe, don't hold me to that exact date, but I think he signed them all. He signed 21 bills on one day, and I think that was the 26th of May. So it's in place right now.
Thanks.
I did get, as I mentioned to you, I did get a call from the department thanking us and CMR for their advocacy on the issue, and that's what led them to be able to sign off on the language that they developed. So we haven't heard.
Thank you so much. Thanks. I know for so many people that was really an important topic that they were really looking to get solved for a long time. So yeah. I was honestly surprised when it did. Like, wait, I didn't think this was possible.
Right.
So thank you for everything, Joel.
Yeah.
I'm not taking offense to you not being here right now, just so you know. Just kidding.
Okay.
Okay. Joel, are you gonna stay on, Joel, or otherwise I can send you any email messages if something comes up later?
I'm gonna stay on as long as I can. I'll put it on silent, and I might get rained on. So okay. Between the helicopters or the rain, one or the other might drive me out of here. So.
Okay. Well, you feel free to control your own video then.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Sounds good.
You.
I'll put it on silent, but I'll be here as long.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much. Jim, I see you laughing on mute. Okay, so I'm going to, panelists, if you want to turn your video off for a moment, I'm going to turn it over now to Matt. So Matt is, interestingly enough, he is living here this summer. We don't normally have a staff that lives here, but you know, this is the summer for change. So we were friends like way long time ago. And so he is going to give our COVID update, which is my least favorite thing. And he knows it. So he's also sitting right next to me. We're obviously not practicing good social distancing, but Joanna and Matt are both in my circle now. So I feel safe, but I also feel like I need to explain that. I'm going to stop talking. Here we go.
Hey, everybody.
This is Matt.
Thank you for letting me on this phone call. As Michaela said, my name is Matt. I'm a nurse. I had a concentration during nursing school in epidemiology. I also have a certification from the International Red Cross in health emergencies in large populations. And once upon a time, I was responsible for responding to H1N1 on a military base of about 5,000 troops and about 20,000 inmates at Camp Uga.
Matt, I don't mean to interrupt, Matt, but can you move closer to the speaker?
I sure can.
And you have to repeat it.
Am I just that good looking?
I did tell him you was.
Yeah, I just wanted a closer look.
Yeah, thank you. Here I am. Just kidding. So, yeah, my background is somewhat varied, but that's my experience when it comes to this stuff. Now, at the same time, these days I've been working in a nursing home, so I've seen firsthand the effects of COVID, especially on the elderly population. And that's kind of, if I had one message to give to you guys, that would probably be the main one, is that with your populations, the populations that you have coming in, I would be most careful and most cautious concerning the elderly folks that you have coming in. I personally have had 12 patients die from COVID. And yes, it was COVID. It wasn't a shark bite that was later turned COVID or something like that. And these were folks that were probably not going to die anytime soon, in the next 6 months or so. So just a quick update on that side. You know, I'm not here to argue about research or anything like that with you guys. I'm just here to say what I've seen and the research that I've seen, peer-reviewed, double-blind studies, those types of things. And honestly, there isn't much out there right now, unfortunately. We still some work to do on this virus. That being said, the Twin Cities right now, the ICUs are pretty full up. They're at about 87% full right now. I have a lot of friends at App Northwestern, North Memorial, Bethesda. Those hospitals are pretty full. So on top of being very cautious with your guests that are elderly, normally I would say, hey, watch out for folks coming from New York or Boston or perhaps Seattle. But at this point, Minneapolis is just as bad as anywhere else when it comes to that. So although the rate is still, the transmission rate in Minnesota is still pretty good, we're sitting at just a couple thousand cases here right now. Minnesota is not the greatest place to, Minneapolis and St. Paul in particular, are not the greatest place to be for COVID. So I guess being careful with your elderly population when they come in, I guess I would recommend to everybody that if you do have folks that are older coming in and you can tell when they're walking up, or if you know from past experience that these are elderly folks, perhaps they have asthma, perhaps they have hypertension, perhaps obesity, which is another huge risk factor, I would just recommend that you guys have masks on. And that's for your guests, not you guys, of course. So that's probably my main advice right there, is have masks on for your elderly guests, and just let them know, hey, I'm wearing this for you. If you'd like me to take it off, I can take it off. And that's one way to not put the pressure on them to say, oh, I'd like you to wear a mask. Therefore, you're putting the pressure on yourself to have the mask on, and then they can ask you to take it off if they'd like. The second piece of advice that I would give, and I've spoken at length to Kayla about this, and I know how she feels about it, is that screening, I think, is a good idea. And I'll tell you why. It's not the most effective tool that we have, and I'm talking about temperature checks and perhaps a light background and history as far as, hey, where have you been traveling? Do you have these symptoms? Have you had temperatures? That kind of stuff. It's a good idea to do that, not because it's the most effective thing in the world, but because if there is an outbreak at your resort or any other resort, I fear that perhaps all resorts would be shut down in Minnesota, not just your resort. So I think it's very essential for you guys from the outside looking in that you have some procedures in place to screen patients. So one of the things that I've done, for example, was set up a screening program for Stevens Construction. They're a big construction firm out of Milwaukee. They are now screening all of their work sites, all of their subcontractors, all their contractors every day. They're doing a temperature check and they're doing the questions to every person that walks through the door. All right, so that's a huge construction company. We're talking probably 20,000 people being screened daily, and they're paying for it on their own employees and whatnot. But I think it's something that is somewhat easy to do. Now, what does that require? It requires you guys to have a thermometer, and it requires you to actually be able to use it and ask these questions of folks when they arrive. It might cause some problems for you. On the other hand, you know, what if somebody does screen positive? They do have a temperature. What are you going to do? Well, I think you have to send them away at that point. How's that going to look? But at the same time, you know, the folks at Stevens Construction who screened positive and had a temperature, they thanked me for that. They say, yeah, I don't want to be here. I don't want to infect other people. I want to get out of here. And so it's all about protecting other people. Again, we don't want to see an outbreak. And if there is an outbreak, I'd like for you guys to be able to look back on that and say, hey, we had these screening procedures in place. We're doing the best that we could. Therefore, we're still safe to be open for business. So there was a question that came up earlier that I saw asking about basically how long can this virus live? As you guys know, different bacteria, virus, they live different times in the air. You can go from HIV that basically dies the moment it hits air to something like anthrax that can live for decades. So with this, it sounds like the best advice right now, at least, is 3 days. Anyway, from 3 to 5 is what they say, but really 5 days is laboratory conditions. We're not in laboratory conditions here in northern Minnesota, or southern Minnesota, of course. So 3 days is kind of the best time to keep things out of the ability for one person to touch it after a family has left, if that makes sense. Now, that being said, after those 3 days, you could cycle that back into rotation. So one thing hospitals and nursing homes are doing right now, for example, is we're wearing our face masks all day, of course, but they'll have us set that face mask aside for 3 days. After those 3 days, then we'll go ahead and wear that same face mask again. And there's all sorts of reasons that that's problematic, but we won't get into those. So if anybody has any questions, that's basically what I have to say.
Okay, we have a question here, actually, because there's 3 of us here. What specific things? Okay, so Matt has now helped me clean. He's helping me clean my cabins. He doubles as an attorney, a nurse, a cabin cleaner, and a grounds crew and babysitter, actually. So now that you've helped me clean, like what do you see that we need to do differently? Like that 3-day rule. And I mean, we've had breaks in our reservation, so that's where I kind of struggle. But as soon as we get back-to-back turnovers, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I don't want to out Kayla in particular. I would just say, in general, what we're looking for, and this is what we found with the H1N1. Thank you. I have a puppy here, and he is very attention-needy. What we found in the H1N1 outbreak at Camp Buka is that it was mostly the high-contact surface areas that need to be cleaned the most. So it's not that important if you're not getting the corner of the room over here and spraying that down and wiping it. But, the bedside table, yeah, you want to make sure that you've wiped it thoroughly. The handles are huge. Just anything that is as high likelihood of being touched by the last guest and then the new guest. You're not going to be able to get everything. And if you tell your cleaning crew to get everything, they're not going to do anything. So you want to be practicable with these interventions. They need to be things that you're going to do, and they need to be things that your cleaning crew is going to repeat. That being said, you all know that we now have a higher burden on the cleaning crews. So you also have to budget for that. You have to be prepared to give them that extra time. That's expensive. But again, the thing we're trying to prevent is an outbreak at any resort in Minnesota, really, because that's where people start getting hurt. And that's when it turns from, hey, we might have a bad business year this year to, hey, half the resorts in Minnesota are going to shut down. It's only the big fish left. Good news. Yeah. You guys were talking about the protests earlier. I'm glad you didn't just give me that segue right from that to that. So that's good. But I think that's another thing to be aware of too, is that we can probably expect some higher rates in Minnesota in a couple of weeks. And so while it might be a good business opportunity for you, for the folks that are privileged enough to be able to come up to Minnesota, greater Minnesota and afford it and whatnot, that also presents some problems as far as potential COVID repercussions.
Yeah. I was feeling really guilty. Yesterday we had a new guest check in, and I was questioning everything we did in her cabin, because she showed up, to check in with a mask. She said, "I'm so sorry I'm wearing a mask. My father is doing cancer treatment right now, so we just have to be very careful." And everything, I was going through all the things, did I spray this handle? Did I spray the toaster? I didn't spray the coffee thing. So I feel like, the burden is so heavy right now. So if you guys have tips and what you're doing to disinfect and things, this is the place. Definitely share it. I'm going to open it up for questions for Matt before we get, further into that. I don't know if he can stay on the entire time, but if you have questions specifically for Matt, yes, Clint, you have a question. Go ahead.
Yes, I do.
Go ahead.
Yeah, see, Matt, I'm just curious. A while back, they had a nurse from Sanford was on Talk About on KB 101, and they were talking about temperatures when you scan people. And what temperatures are you looking for as far as considering it to be bad temperatures? She had stated everybody's body temperatures are at a different rate. Some are low, some are high. So you can't go by anybody that's over 99.6 or 8, whatever it's supposed to be. But what she stated on the radio was that if they didn't have a temperature of 104, it wasn't COVID-19. Is that true? Or what temperatures are we looking at as far as,
Yeah, 104 is, that's when your brain starts liquefying, more or less. So I think that's a bit much. Now, temperatures can get that high, of course, but she's right in that everybody has a different baseline, and that's one of the reasons that screening isn't perfect. Another reason that screening isn't perfect is that folks are asymptomatic something like 30 to 50% of the time, and they're asymptomatic the first 5 days that they're still a carrier of the virus. That's what makes this thing so difficult to kind of get rid of. So screening isn't a perfect tool. Now, that being said, if you can find somebody that has a temp, my personal one that I've done the most research on and had the best reviews on is over 100.3. Now, if you have over 100.3, you want to do a recheck with a different thermometer. For example, if you're using a forehead thermometer, again, problem with screening, they're not all that accurate, especially if you don't know the baseline. So maybe you can get a tympanic thermometer or perhaps even an oral thermometer. Those are a little bit more accurate generally. So that's kind of the way that I've been going about it and setting up these programs. My goal is to find somebody who is the person that could potentially be the one that infects other people at your resort. And that's not going to be 100% possible, but perhaps we can cut that risk down by 50%. And that would be a good thing for everybody, I think.
All right.
I definitely bought the wrong thermometer. Also definitely split the wrong thermometer bulk order with Resorter. Sorry about that, Joanna.
That's okay. Honestly, that's the forehead thermometer are what most places that I've been through are using that are doing the screening. That's what the construction company use. That's what the nursing homes that I've worked in are using. That's what hospitals are using, especially for their own employees. The reason why is that I can keep a decent amount of distance from you with a face mask on and still get your temperature. And I can still have a fairly good probability of getting at least a decent reading that tells me whether or not I then need to take a more accurate reading. So that would be, you know, if my procedure with Stevens was, hey, if somebody has 100.3 with a forehead, they're going outside right away. I'm going to go notify a supervisor or their foreman. Then I'm going to get a different thermometer. Then I'm going to recheck them. They recheck high again with a different thermometer. Then they're going home for 3 days. Then they're going to come back and check for symptoms.
Okay. Oh, also, I wanted to mention, Matt is available to help with any kind of operating plans, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
No, it's a side hustle. So if anybody does want any help in that area, I'm happy to help.
Yeah. So if you're,
I charge in 6-packs. So.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. Which is why he's living here. Okay. Timberly asked you a question, Matt. It says, so when you mentioned the 3 days as kind of the time frame to let things set in theory, could we then just remove blankets from cabins, let them sit till next week without washing them? We had considered just tossing them in the dryer for 1 hour instead of washing each week, but maybe we wouldn't even have to do that.
Yeah, if you're going to do blankets, blankets might be a little more cozy for a bacteria to live in, a virus to live in. So I would probably stay closer to the 5-day time frame with blankets. But if you're letting it sit for those 5 days, yeah, absolutely. It can't live past 5 days. So
good to know. My blankets on the clothesline are going to be fresh and ready. Okay, let's see. Any other questions for Matt specifically? Otherwise, feel free to email me if you want to get in touch with Matt, and I can certainly pass on his information, or I can email follow up as well if you want help with any kind of operating plans, sample questions. I'm still working on implementing those, even though he's right here to help me.
I understand. I mean, folks want to come out to their resort and they want to feel like they're in Minnesota again, the Minnesota that they know and love. At the same time, they're also understanding that the world has changed. So I can see both sides. In my experience, folks in general, have been very accepting of these things because it's just to keep everybody safe, right? And it's really not that, hey, where have you been? Do you have shortness of breath? Have you lost your sense of taste? It's not that bad. So.
Sure. Okay, I do have a question, actually. Okay, so I have kept my lodge open, relatively open, actually very open. We put sanitation stations in there. I've added mass disinfectant for people to use. We will disinfect, obviously. After I went to the Twin Cities just like a weekend ago and went to Target and it was crazy and there were people there, I was like, my lodge is fine. I can protect my lodge. It's like so small compared to a Target or a Walmart or whatever. That might not necessarily be legal. But what are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts are that you should have a limit as to the number of people that are inside of the lodge at one time. So either one family unit, or hey, we can have a lodge your size, maybe 3-4 people. It might be too many, even 2-3 people. So you want to figure out the square footage and do a calculation based on that. With your lodge, that would probably be fine. Yeah.
With Joanna's lodge.
Yeah.
Okay. That's great. One thing when we had a rainy day, I'm sure you guys all experienced this, that's when people started wanting to come to the lodge. Like it had been really quiet and like perfect timing for everyone. But that one rainy day, we had multiple people wanting to go to the lodge for Wi-Fi. And so we separated them. We had some people go to the treetop, some people go to a different cabin, but obviously we can't do that when we're completely full.
I did see another question on trying on clothes too.
Yeah, go for it.
I don't recommend even getting there, doing that. I think you guys are gonna have problems. I guess you could maybe have a quarantine basket somewhere of clothes that have been tried on. I personally would probably just say, hey, I'm sorry, we can't try on clothes. That's just my preference, I guess. But the quarantine, so hey, I'm trying on a sweater that was in the quarantine bucket. As a guest, I'm not gonna feel great about that.
Like you're not gonna buy that, even if it's 50% off. Just kidding. Okay, any last questions for Matt? Type them into the chat or the Q&A. Either one is totally fine. Or if you raise your hand, I can unmute you as well.
Thank you, everybody.
And then feel free to reach out to me if you want any help working on operating plans or safety plans, anything like that about reopening, that you want Matt's input or questions or anything like that. He is here for you. Yeah, so, how is everyone doing? I just want to check in. And if you are prepared to raise your hand and I will unmute you, you can unmute yourself and just tell us how your season has gone so far. I think we really just want to feel connected to each other if I'm gauging things correctly, and see how each of us are doing. While you're thinking about doing that, both panelists, thank you, Clint, about, asking questions or anything like that. I want to check in a little bit about how our season has gone so far. A lot of our May business had moved to September, but we actually got a lot of last minute bookings. And mainly a lot of them have come from Airbnb actually. And they've been really good. And also just like a lot of you have said, it's felt really normal. And that's how it's felt here, which kind of makes me wonder, like, maybe I'm not doing things correctly. But, that's why we're here to talk and discuss. So with that, if anyone wants to raise their hand, feel free. Otherwise, we got a lot of questions, Clint, I see you, in the registration form that I can start us off and then open it up to panelists to respond, whoever wants to respond. Go ahead, Clint, though.
I just seen in the questions, somebody had asked about somebody that has campgrounds, what they're doing with their shower house.
Yeah.
And what we are doing is it gets cleaned every morning, sanitized, and then on the door there's a note that reminds them social distancing, only so many people allowed at a time, and then basically use at your own risk. We sanitize it every morning, and you're not going to run it after every person uses it and do it. So that's what we're putting up for signage, and people have to take responsibility for some of their own actions. So, as long as you go in and use the facilities and wash your hands with soap and water like you're supposed to, it shouldn't be an issue. That's where I'm at, I guess. But I'm just referring back to that question that was asked on the questions about campgrounds.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for grabbing that one, Clint. That's a good question. So one question that I've seen come up a couple times now regarding disinfectants is what are you all doing, kind of going back to our cleaning call maybe, now that we're actually putting things into practice. What are you doing for your furniture that's working? What are you doing that isn't kind of wrecking your door handles, your wood tabletops? Are you finding something that does work that isn't destroying also the cabin? Feel free to grab anyone on YouTube if you want.
Patty, actually, we have a gentleman here that works for Carrier for the furnaces and for AC units. And they've been pushing a lot of stuff that actually disinfects with the ultra blue light. And we have a machine sitting in the lodge that runs 24/7. And at night we turn it on wide open and it circulates the air and sucks everything through and kills all bacteria and viruses. That's what we have in our lodge. So we feel our lodge is kind of getting sanitized every night. Plus Patty does wipe downs. And then she's also ordered, it's a wand with the same blue light that kills all viruses and bacteria that she has it ordered, but it hasn't showed up yet. She has about a week to go. But once that shows up, you just walk through the cabin and on all your fabrics, whatever, it's supposed to kill all the bacteria and viruses. So we're kind of anxious to get that and see how well it works.
We're using that force of nature system that somebody brought up months ago that I didn't know anything about, and I love it. Super easy, doesn't hurt anything. I really like that. And then we're doing rubbing alcohol, which has been hard to find, with thyme oil, which is the thymol ingredient on the EPA list. And that has not seemed to harm anything. And we're spraying it all over the cabin's furniture, switches, knobs, handles, everything.
Yeah, we're kind of doing the same thing. We're doing a 3% peroxide mix with thieves cleaner and water. And that seems to work good. We haven't had any fading yet on our wood furniture. All of our cabins have log furniture from Viking out of St. Joe, and we haven't had any fading on any covers for the futons or any of the wood or anything like that yet. So it's been working, and that's what we use. We just have a 2-gallon sprayer for like our fish cleaning house, for our laundry facility, our sauna, and our camp baths. So that seems to work pretty good for us.
Great. I don't know if you mentioned this. We are using SoluGuard as our disinfectant. And so far, I haven't noticed anything as far as surfaces being damaged because of it. It does have a 10-minute dwell time as well. But that's also what I'm trying to leave in the cabins for our guests to use on their own if they want. Kind of more so just to make them feel like they have an option if they're not bringing something on their own. So, yeah. Anyone else on that? Otherwise, there are, like I said, questions that came up on the registration form that I can jump into as well. One of them, and I'm sure this is a hot topic, is lake toys, as my husband is blowing up our water trampoline right now. What are you doing? Are you sanitizing? Are you policing social distancing for your beach area, your playground area, that kind of thing? Timberly, I know, found on the CDC and has shared that it wasn't recommended to disinfect playground areas because it was basically a waste of your product, considering that it's outside in the sun and such. But I'd be curious, what are you guys doing? Like I said, we're just kind of acting like it's normal, but I don't know if that's necessarily the right thing. So what are your thoughts?
We are, I got a backpack sprayer. I put my chemical in every morning, 7 o'clock, I'm out the door. I walk around and I spray all the playground equipment. I go down to the lake, I spray all the beach furniture, all the toys. And we have the signage up that says sanitize daily, use at your own risk. And along with all your social, you're staying your 6 feet apart. So, I mean, we're making the effort, and, you know, like you said, we also thought, wow, I mean, how can you keep that clean with all the kids playing on it? Down at the lake, yeah, how do you keep that stuff clean? It's almost impossible. So we're making the effort to sanitize it. And I guess, you know, they have to take a little bit of self-responsibility, I think, when they're there. Like you said, wash their hands daily, change their clothes when they're done, whatever. I mean, they need to step in and take a little bit of a part of that too, I think. But that's what we're doing.
Sure.
We are doing kind of the same thing. I took a little different approach on the disinfectant. I'm using Dawn dishwasher soap with water. They say soap is just as effective as disinfectant, really. And so we're spraying those down every morning, the stand-up paddle boards, the pedal boats, all that stuff, the swing set and the playground. I'm not spraying any wood items. The CDC said wood. It just definitely doesn't pay to do that. But the plastic items and that type of stuff. We did not put out our swim dock because I wasn't going to go out there daily and spray something down. It just doesn't make sense. So I've kept it locked up. So.
Sure. Did Matt have any information on if that, like, for the water trampolines and water toys, even today blowing them up, I mean, and it's been warm and the sun's hitting them, but if you touch it with the side of your leg, you feel how hot that thing is. Does that kill it? I mean, most of our water toys are blue, and so they take in that sun pretty good. Do you know if that kills that virus on there?
I feel like I've heard that it does, like based on the sun, but I will ask Matt specifically. He already left, but I will ask him in follow up, just in the follow-up email about what he says about heat and sun and outdoors and things like that. Yeah.
We're not sanitizing. Like, we have one of those lily pads. It's really our only, like, in the water, but we're not going to sanitize it. It feels like a waste. And I don't want to put even, I don't want to put hydrogen peroxide in something in the lake. That seems, whatever, not doing it. So we just put a sign that says, like, this item is not sanitized, and recommend, like, one group at a time, but I'm not going to police it either.
Yeah. One thing that I've noticed, we put sanitation stations in all those rec areas that are the community spaces that people can use. I have not seen a single person use them, which is fine. I don't really care. But, you know, both with disinfectant there and hand sanitizer there, not a single, I mean, maybe they have, but I have not seen. So it's interesting.
You know, one of the things to remember too is, I mean, you do the best you can, all this information, but a lot of it comes down to just the mind. When the people see you out there doing sanitation stuff, it just makes them feel better and feel safe. And you want your guests to, number one, be safe, but you want them to feel safe and think that us as resorters are doing everything we can. And by whether it actually disinfects it or not, just them seeing us do it is always a positive.
I think that goes back to feeling like it's normal. Guests see you doing that, and you have the signs up and you have the sanitizing stuff up, and they've kind of accepted that as normal, and it is normal right now. And so it feels normal. We haven't seen anybody go out of their way to disinfect anything, but we keep disinfecting in the office if they want to use it for something like the outside toys. But, you know, our guests, I saw a question about, somebody said their campground is mostly people from North Dakota and they're not socially distancing. I mean, the way I look at social distancing, it's a personal responsibility. If those people choose not to social distance, I'm not going to police them and make them break up. You know, and you talk about if there's an outbreak at a resort, I mean, there could be, and it could be their responsibility that it broke out because they were not social distancing. I mean, I don't know how you prevent that. I don't know how you instill that in people, and I'm not doing it. The signs are up, the stuff is there for them to use, and that's the best we can do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I completely agree. And kind of follow up on that, Mary specifically asked, are you cleaning, sanitizing your dishes and silverware after each guest? I personally am not. I'm gonna once again put that on that. We check them when we clean. But if they feel the need to then, clean them again, I feel like once again, that's kind of one of their things that is on them. I'll provide the disinfectant in the cabinet for them and leave it up to them.
I think Patty put in ours that the dishes should be clean, but if they feel there's an issue there, put them in the dishwasher, run them. All of our cabins have dishwashers. So it's like throw them in there and throw them on regular wash with the high temp dry, and they should be good to go. So they have the option to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We kind of did the same thing. We don't have dishwashers. They're these two things right here. So what we did was put up a sign that the dishes are clean, and if you choose to wash them again, they can do so. We provide the dish soap, and that's as good as it gets. I mean, the CDC has said soap is as good as any other disinfectant out there. It's the cheapest one out there, and we use Dawn dish soap, so they can wash their own dishes if they so feel. I don't believe anybody's doing it, but the sign's there.
Yeah. Okay, panelists, feel free to grab any questions that I sent to you that were on the registration form if you find one that's standing out to you. I'm just trying to think. There's something about signage. What specific signage and notes have been placed inside the cabins? Anyone want to talk to that?
I can comment on that.
Okay, yeah.
The Department of Health has signage on their website about washing your hands, covering your mouth when you cough or sneeze. We've supplemented those with signage on, disinfectants available in the office, signage that says one family at a time in the fish cleaning house, in the store, the hand sanitizing stations with signage on those, the one about washing the dishes and that type of stuff. But the ones on the website, we just printed off, and then we put in a plastic holder, and then we hung them in the cabins.
At every sink.
Mm-hmm.
At every sink, bathroom and kitchen. So they're right there. We supply soap, hand soap. I'll also comment, there was a comment about toilet paper. We are pulling the unused rolls from the cabins. Or excuse me, the used rolls that are still left over. We're pulling those from the cabins, and we'll leave them sit, and then we'll probably just use them ourselves. But I wouldn't discard them. I think after 5 days, like Matt said, that they'll be just fine like any fabric would. So we're not discarding them. We're removing them so that the next guest can't use them, and putting in new ones for the new guest for toilet paper.
Oh, that's good. Let's broach the subject of bedding, because that is still my biggest struggle personally. I am struggling with making beds with just sheets and not blankets and not necessarily pillows, with just how they look. I don't feel like it looks put together. What did you all end up, what are you working on, Jim and Clint, for bedding stuff?
We removed the blankets and the bedspreads and the pillows, and we asked our guests to bring those on their own, explaining to them that in those fabrics, the virus can live longer, and that we only cleaned and washed those on a periodic basis rather than weekly. The beds, we still supply the sheets and wash those weekly, as well as the mattress protectors or the mattress pads. But our guests have been fine with it. If they forget, obviously we have pillows and blankets in stock, and we give them to them, and then we wash them, but we just couldn't do them all on a weekly basis. And our guests have been fine with it. They get it. They respect it.
But I agree, Kayla, the beds don't look good with just the sheets, but we're just going to live with it.
Hell, I don't make mine on a daily basis, so.
Yeah.
I think they look great.
Yeah, that's true. I just can't make it like flat enough, or tucked enough.
Kayla, what we're doing, of course, you change the sheets, the pillow protectors, the mattress covered. Patty has enough comforters that she swaps them out every week and she can wash them. So that's what she's been doing. We pulled all the blankets. She puts one in a sealed whatever in the cabin, and then has a note on there that if they would like to have more blankets, they just have to come up to the office and ask for them, and then wash them when they're done with them. But that's kind of what we're doing.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. Kimberly, did you want to say anything about bedding?
We're kind of doing the same thing as far as it's just the blanket, not the pretty Northwoods quilt, and it broke my heart not having that on there. I'm still in therapy for that because it doesn't look right. It doesn't look inviting. It's not nice and tight, and it drives me bananas. So I'm with you. I don't like it at all, but I just keep telling myself it's just this year. It's just this year. It's just this year. So we're washing blankets every turnover, but maybe I don't have to wash them now. So maybe I can just dry them and put them away. So
yeah. I did put ours, I mean, I had a little bit of break in between, and I did put them on the clothesline to just like sun. And I personally feel good about that, but yeah. Well, if anyone has questions about blankets specifically, feel free. Oh, actually there are a couple. Julie says for bedding, you're using sheets and quilts one time, then sheets and blankets only for the next guest. Okay, so just like rotating your quilt and your blanket. Interesting. Yeah, that's a great idea. There's a couple questions about dealing with rules and social distancing. And this has been, I think, a common topic on both the CMR Facebook and also chat line. I think I personally know how you guys are dealing about it, but maybe you guys can speak to it in case someone hasn't seen those responses. How are you handling social distancing, rules in your fish house, those types of things?
We have the signage up. I'm like Jim. I'm not going to be the police. I mean, we're all busy. We got tons of stuff to do. Everybody knows what's going on. I mean, and if you're out there telling them to do things they don't want to do, I mean, that's just going to irritate your guests some more. They're all responsible adults, I would hope. Sometimes the kids, you might have to whisper to once in a while or tell them maybe they shouldn't do this or that. But as far as the adults go, how far do you push it before, it's an unwanted comment from the owner, so that's where I'm at, I guess.
Right.
I'm kind of the opinion, keep it simple. I mean, we put up the signage, we've asked them to do these things, and it's a personal responsibility whether they do them or not. I look at it like the masks. The government says they recommend wearing masks, but you don't have to. We're asking them to social distance, but do they have to? I mean, yeah, they should. But if they're not, I don't see it as my responsibility to go out there and break them up. We get big family reunions that come in that gather in groups of more than 10. I am not going to break that up. That would ruin that atmosphere. So, they have to take that responsibility themselves and know that they're putting themselves at risk if they're in a big group like that. My opinion is I'll keep my social distance from them and they can do what they want.
Great. You know what I've noticed? The guests we have come up from out of state, they get out of the truck, the car, they all got their mask on, they come into the lodge, they check in, they go to their cabin. You don't see them wear a mask after that, and they're right in your face after that. They don't they feel so comfortable once they get up here. It's just like, oh, what do? You want them to feel comfortable and have a good time. So, yeah, I don't know what to tell you there.
Mm-hmm.
We have socially distanced. We've tried to keep ourselves 6 feet away in discussions with guests. Even around the plexi, it's still 6 feet from the front of my counter to where we stand in the back side of the counter if they're not using the plexiglass. So we have really tried to be conscious of that and step back if they're getting too close, because if we get the virus, that is disastrous for us. We can't run the resort. It's closed. So we are paying attention to that more than the guests. And I'd recommend everybody do that. The mask thing, you know, we wear them when we clean. You know, like Matt said, you know, maybe around an individual who is elderly. We've got here now an individual who has an impaired immune system. I won't approach him. You know, and I know he's got issues. So stuff like that, if I'm aware of it, I'm going to keep away, and, you know, they can approach me in a different manner or call me or whatever. And they have, so.
No, I got to agree with you, Jim. You know, I seen there's a question about the fish cleaning houses, and mine's big enough that I have 2 sinks and they're spaced perfectly 6 feet apart. So, you know, there again, we have a sign up that says 1 family at a time, but I suppose technically they could have 2 in there at a time if they stayed on their X's. But yeah, so just things like that. I mean, you put up the right signage, and like I said, I put big white X's right on the floor. Took out the old spray paint can and just put them right down because they're going to wear off eventually. But just trying to remind them, I think, is a big thing.
Yeah. That's one thing I hadn't shared yet. What has been working really well unexpectedly. We added like an on-call cell phone that we text every guest who comes in when they check in, like their main cell phone number, whatever they want. This on-call number. And we've had multiple people text that line asking for a frying pan or a griddle or where are the life jackets? And that's been very helpful. We haven't had to meet at the lodge to answer those questions. We've just been able to, do it from afar, but still feel very connected. And honestly, I think a higher level of service than what we even had before. So, and we'll just, so far only James or I have held that on-call phone, but, you know, eventually we'll pass it on to other staffers when they're the ones on. So yeah. Anything else about those rules? I feel very much the same way. Although I think all those people who are doing those family reunions, they are having those conversations. They are asking each other, should we get together? Should we cancel? How are we going to do meals? Like, they've already talked it out, at least the guests that we've experienced. And so I think they're going to act out of their level of comfort and responsibility. And we're just facilitating. We're just providing the place, and they're going to act however they feel okay about acting.
And I would agree. We got a huge group coming in from Indiana next week, and they actually called and asked, what are you doing? So we explained to them what our procedures are, and they want to know what we would allow them to do as their group coming in, because every night a different cabin cooks supper, and everybody moves all their picnic tables down to and they rotate through. And she's like, can we still do that? And I'm like, yeah, I don't have a problem with that. I said, we have signage up, we have this up, we have that up. It's up to you to, you know, show some personal responsibility, and you do what you think is safe. We're doing everything we can to make you safe. And they were fine with that. So
yeah.
And their conversations, like you said, Kayla, are taking place before they get here. Because we've had the same type of calls, Clint, about, hey, can we still gather over 10, yada, yada. Yeah, my answer is yes. Yeah, I'm not going to break you up. That's your own responsibility. You're taking the risk. And if you accept that risk, that's fine with me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Speaking of gathering, just very logistical question. Kristen Kittleson asked, what are people doing with picnic tablecloths? We personally don't have them. If they want to bring their own, obviously that's fine. But I would just think that's something you could remove and not have to worry about. But does anyone use tablecloths that maybe that's more important to your guests?
We have them. We do disinfect them.
Okay.
But I think I'm going to pull them. I like that idea.
Yeah, our guests just know if they want a tablecloth, they bring their own. Some weeks everyone brings a tablecloth, some weeks nobody does. So yeah. Yeah. Okay. Jennifer Bateman brought up marketing. Has anyone had a chance to read that? I've kind of only read pieces so far. she says, it sounds like resorts have some unusual openings due to cancellations. This is also the summer with that extra week. So that extra week of income potentially. And the Minnesota State Fair is now canceled. The fair goers are a whole new population to market to. I think there's a real opportunity here to introduce the Minnesota resort vacation to lots of people. I'd like to hear what type of intentional marketing resorters are using to get in front of people. Are you stepping up your social media efforts with a specific strategy, Facebook ads, using your database names? And she also says she agrees with Timberly that discounts are not the best way to get more business. Perhaps some other creative ideas other resorters could benefit from. What are you all doing?
We use Craigslist. I typically don't use it on like short-term type thing, like if I have an availability, but I have started doing that, saying, hey, we have an opening May 30th through June 6th. A short-term, you can rent it 3-night minimum up to a week. It's free. I hit the markets I want to hit. And also today I put out on the chat line about the last minute openings opportunity on the CMR website that, you know, when people go to that looking for a resort and they see that last minute openings, it's kind of a click. It's an easy click. You go right to resorts that have openings that week. I think mine's the only one out there right now. But it's $5 to put a cabin on there. I think it's $250 for a campsite. You know, that's just another opportunity that's inexpensive that I've used. And then your own Facebook. We sent out information to our guests saying that we had openings, and if they filled them, we'd give them a referral discount. And I look at referral discounts as advertising dollars. If I give somebody 10% of somebody's rental amount, let's say it's $150, but I get a $1,500 rental from it, that's money well spent, in my opinion. Plus, it rewards my current guest and shows them that I appreciate the referral. It's a one-time deal, but they can refer as many people as they want. And if they come, I give them the discount. That's the type of discount we give. I don't give discount off my rate.
Sure. The only discounts I've really offered are if people, like over Memorial Day weekend, for example, they picked 2 days, and I said, I'll give you that third day for like, I don't know, I think I gave them third day for half off, but it got them to stay an extra day and rent a boat for a little bit longer. So I haven't flat out been advertising discounts, but you know, one-on-one, if I can get them to stay a little bit longer, for example. But yeah. I think, well, does anyone else want to talk to social media before I jump in about it? How have you all been doing social media wise? I'm curious. I am so curious what all the 24 resorts are doing and how they're doing for social media. So if anyone who's not a panelist wants to speak up, please feel free. I've just tried to be very authentic right now. That's all. I am not trying to market. I am not even saying I have 3 cabins available this week. I feel like if I see that from other companies saying like, this is on sale right now, I'm just like, do you know what's happening in the world right now? Do you think I care that your laundry soap is on sale? So that's kind of how I'm treating it. I'm just trying to speak authentically to our guests, and I'm not trying to make that work, but it seems to be working. So I'm just going to keep going in that vein. Yeah. What about you, Timberly? How has it been going for you marketing wise?
I'm kind of with you on that. I sat there and tried to figure out what's the best approach, because I don't want it to sound like, oh, people are canceling, so I have all these openings. So I didn't want to go that direction, and I didn't want to push it too hard. And so I'm kind of just doing like what you do, just showing like what a beautiful place it is.
Yeah.
It's a great place to be, social distancing. I've been trying to post comments that guests that have been here have said, that how they have appreciated being able to get away from everything and still be, you know, at the lake and enjoying time without having to worry about crowds and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm trying to be authentic because I get it. Like, I'm with you. Like, I don't want to buy stuff right now. Like, people are hurting, and I just want it to be a spot you can get away from that and be okay. So that's kind of what we're just, I'm not pushing too much out there, just kind of trying to show pictures of relaxing things, peaceful things, still fun stuff to do, and you don't have to travel far.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's really interesting. Like, that's what we have to offer. I think I've been trying to figure out what's our place in the world right now, and I think that is really important that we do have a place to offer all of our resorts as a place of rest for people before they enter their regular lives or whatever. And I think that's a huge part we play in all of this. Yeah, anyone else?
I'll just add, so there's a commercial, and I don't remember which truck it's for, but it's called God Made a Farmer, and it was on a Super Bowl commercial a long time ago. And I saw that the other day. I'm like, we should write something about God Made a Resort, because there's reasons why we're here. Like, people can get away from things. They can decompress. They can become a family again. They can teach kids how to fish. So there's so many great things that you don't need the pool. You don't need all the water toys. You don't need the internet. And so sometimes I think we have to just kind of go back to, like, why, like you said, why are we here? What's special about a resort? And there's a lot of things that you kind of have to word it the right way. But if you get a chance, look at that commercial, because it's really cool. I'm like, there's got to be a way we could do that for resorts. Like, what's special about a resort?
Yeah. No, that's good. That's helpful. If anyone has any questions about social media and communication, I think that's a great topic to either continue here or on the various chat lines later. Jim has examples of communication that him and Kristen have sent out. Our communication is on our website for the most part, if anyone wants to check it out. Once again, just trying to really be personal and authentic, I think, is what, or at least has been our approach so far.
We're actually trying something different this year. We're trying live radio down in the Twin Cities to see if that works or not. We've been advertising on Bob Toll Country down in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul, and I think it's Rochester or in St. Cloud. They got the Four Outdoorsmen is on every Sunday night from 6 to 8. And actually, I got hooked up with them when I talked to them about the coronavirus. They had called up to talk to the CMR, so I did a live speech with them. But they sent me out some advertising rates, and they were really cheap, and we've never tried it. So I've been on there a couple times talking up the resort. They do a really good job. They actually come up and stayed with us for 3 days and caught fish and bought clothes, and they're advertising us hard and heavy. So we're actually trying that radio to see if it works out, and that's about as real as you can get as far as talking to people. So I don't know. We'll see if it pays dividends or not.
Yeah. So are you answering questions? Like, do people call in?
Actually, no, it was just myself and the 3 guys on the show. They had all the questions set up. So you just fly up the handle and answer questions, whatever they ask you, So they're a fun bunch of guys, like to have fun. So it was a lot of chuckles. I was laughing.
Nice. I love it. That's great.
Kayla, just a comment on social media and advertising. I would stay away from marketing to COVID-19 or to the riots.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I would market more what you offer, how it's relaxing, at the lake, fishing, blah, 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 rather than, hey, get away from the riots. I wouldn't throw that in people's faces, advertising wise.
Yeah.
We know they're there. We know that COVID-19's out there. So do our guests. I wouldn't put that message in your advertising on social media or anywhere else.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Mm-hmm. Well, I feel like, I don't know, that might be the most important topic actually, but, Kristen Kittleson just responded, kind of going back to Facebook. She says, we're not offering discounts unless they really press us. We don't know how to market on Facebook without offering a discount besides posting pictures of the lake, beach, fish, etc. I think that's still actually really huge if you can post about those things. Yeah, you know, get engagement, share reviews, the same things that probably have worked in the past. But I think that's okay if you're not offering discounts on Facebook. That's okay. Yeah. Anything else? Any other questions come up? Otherwise, I kind of feel like we're getting close here.
You know, Kayla, talking about discounts, that's kind of up to every resort. I mean, if you're talking a week and a half, 2 weeks out, and you got open cabins, somebody at a discount is better than empty. You know what I'm saying? I mean, everybody's got to feel comfortable doing what they need to do to survive. You know, I mean, if they need to offer discounts to get people to come to the resort so they can stay afloat for the year, there's nothing wrong with it. Don't be afraid to do that. We don't want to push, don't offer discounts. Everybody needs to feel comfortable in their own skin about what they're offering and what kind of situation they have. So I just want to make sure that they're clear about that if it's a week out and that cabin's open and somebody's willing to come for half price, it's better than sitting empty. I'm just saying. So everybody needs to kind of be happy with what they're doing.
Yeah. You know, I lied too. Earlier I said we aren't offering discounts. But if I have a 3-bedroom open and I've got somebody on the line who wants a 2-bedroom, I'll sell the 2-bedroom price for the 3-bedroom.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Because I've got them on the line. They called me for a reason and they want to come to my resort. I am selling that cabin. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I start out by saying, yeah, it's a 3-bedroom. Here's the price. But if, you know, I'm also asking how many people in your group, oh, you only really need a 2-bedroom, then we sell it. I mean, it's not a discount per se, but it's meeting their needs and you get the full 2-bedroom price and I'm good with it. I fill the cabin.
Yep. You're flexible. Yep.
Yep.
Some words that echo in my head often are what Jennifer Bateman taught me is that she said, we are in the business of selling cabins. So if someone's calling about a cabin and their budget is this much money and they want to stay for one night, I mean, how do you get them in that cabin? So yeah, I think that is smart to be able to pivot and kind of be flexible with your guests. Yeah. Thanks for clarifying that, Clint. I appreciate that.
I seen on the question and answer, somebody talked about they're not making pizzas, but we do pizzas and we just do takeout, make it to go. We've always done that. Come in, order it, we'll deliver it. We've always done that and people are pretty good with that. We just don't allow them to eat in the lodge anymore like what we did before. So somebody had a question on there. I just seen that.
Sure. Yep. Yeah, that's what we're doing too. That's all we do really is frozen pizzas out of a pizza oven. And if they want us to deliver it, we'll deliver it or we'll meet them outside or yeah, I think that's something if that was a revenue area for you, I don't foresee you having to stop that unless you want to.
Say, I got a question Patty wanted me to ask. Some people talked about going to Friday check-ins. Let me see. Friday checkout, but checking in on Saturday. So they were going down to a 6-day week instead of a 7-day week. Has anybody on the panel done that? Or has anybody out there done it? And what kind of feedback you getting on that?
I know Timberly has, but she always has, but now she's making that like a mandatory thing. Timberly, if you're still on, feel free to answer for yourself. Joanna is technically on vacation, so she went back to her family, but they switched that. They're not doing Saturday at all. Everyone is checking out Friday and they're just letting the cabin sit for a day. And she said, just from our conversations, that people have not pushed back about it at all. So I am not, but.
Did they do any kind of a discount for that, losing a day?
I think they did. I think they did give a discount. If I remember correctly, I can't remember. Do you know, James? Yeah. I think they did a little bit of a discount. Not much, not like a full night discount, but just a little bit.
Just something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we had a group stop in here. They wanted 4 cabins. They were checking out resorts in this area a couple weeks ago, and the resort that they were going to did that, went to 6 days for 7 days and didn't give them any compensation, and they were just bent out of shape about it. And so they were looking to go someplace else, and I haven't heard back from them, and I don't know what's going on, but you know, you got to kind of be careful if you're doing that you have to give a little to get a little to keep them happy, I guess, you know. Otherwise, yeah, you could make them mad and they could leave, but there might have been other underlying issues there that it took that much to trigger them to switch. So I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that level of communication or something like that. Yeah, that's
Kayla, can we talk about some things that have worked?
Yeah, let's do it. What are you thinking?
Well, I created an online registration form that has worked wonderfully.
Good.
We did that, and our guests love it. They can go right to their cabins, and we've got the keys and the resort information in their cabin, so they can go right to it instead of waiting in line at the office. Because they all seem to get here at Saturday at 3 o'clock when check-in is, and they all stand in line, and we didn't want that, and it's worked well. We gather more information actually than we used to. Mm-hmm. We're able to prepare their bill ahead of time and have it in their cabin so they know exactly what their outstanding balance is, and it's worked really well. Another thing we did that I don't have results yet, but we went to a local restaurant, and keep in mind your bars and restaurants are suffering more than us, in my opinion. So we went to a local restaurant. We used to have an ice cream social. We have canceled that. And we're offering 10% off at that local restaurant for a one-time dine experience. And, you know, the restaurateur was like, why are you doing that? And I said, because we all need to survive this thing to get through it. And, you know, she was real appreciative. For us, I looked at it like, you know, even if somebody goes in and spends $100, you know, it's $10 out of my pocket. I've got 10 cabins, a potential of $100 a week. I was like, you know, because honestly, the restaurants in our towns are as vital to our towns as we are. And if they're not there, our guests may not come. I mean, we need places for them to eat, to drink, to experience. And those places are hurting. I thought it was really important to try and build some relationships to offer that discount. And it replaced, the way I looked at it in terms of dollars, it replaced my ice cream social. We're going to try it, see if it works. It just started, so I don't have any results, but it's just kind of a partnership amongst you and another business that hopefully works.
And this little restaurant, they're only open for breakfast and lunch. So, I mean, you're not going to get like the steak dinners and that kind of thing. And right now she's takeout only. So I don't know how much it'll, you know, benefit her, but it's worth a shot.
That is a great idea. I have not crossed that bridge yet of how I can now help our downtown, which is, like you said, I mean, people also come here to visit those places they've been visiting for 20 years. So that's a really good idea. I like that a lot. Going back,
you know, it might be a good idea maybe to talk to some of your local stores, restaurants, whatever, and you could have a list made up for your guests in the cabin stating these are the ones that are open and this is what they're offering. I mean, that would be, if a person wanted to take the time to do that, that would be beneficial to your guests and to your local businesses.
Yeah. I should say, yeah, now that you say that, we did send out like a newsletter that listed takeout places we've enjoyed so far during quarantine and shared some of their social media posts welcoming our outside guests, because that's a lot of questions we've got too, is does your community want us to come vacation there? So I was just, yeah, kind of trying to reassure our guests that yes, we want you to come. Our restaurants want you to order takeout so badly. So I think that's been helpful too, to make people feel comfortable. Yeah. Kind of going back to your question, Clint, about Friday. Kristen Kittleson writes, we are doing Friday checkouts 9 a.m., check-in Saturday at 3 p.m. Few people have asked for a discount. However, our rate is based on 5 nights. So technically they're getting 2 nights free for a week rental. I think that's, yeah, some people's responses. And it sounds like from Kristen's that seems to be okay. But I have not had many turnovers in the same day yet. I've only had a couple. So I am a little bit nervous when that time comes, but I think it'll be okay. Yeah. Anything else? What else did you want, Jim? Anything else you were thinking about that's been working really well for everyone.
No, I'd like to hear if anybody else has anything that worked really well.
Yeah. I mean, kind of in that same vein, I have not, sorry, Jam, figured out my check-in form yet. But we've just been doing, I'll send out, a pre-arrival email like I normally would with our on-call number that they, can text when they're getting close. We'll meet them outside. We let them go straight to their cabin. And then we'll text them later saying, hey, is there anything that you need? We're here. We're available. If you need a fire pit, if you need treats delivered, we'll do that. So yeah, I haven't figured out, I want to figure out a smoother checkout process where they aren't required to go to the lodge, but I haven't quite done that. I think it's just going to look like dropping the bill at some, the last night and following up via, I don't know, message, or they leave a check in the cabin or something, but I haven't quite figured that out. Oh, Jim, you have a question from Kim. Would you be willing to share your pre-registration form and email it directly, or do you have a web page you refer them to?
It is a Google Forms. I can email it out to the chat line. I can put it on the Facebook groups too. It's just a link that goes to a Google Forms. You'd have to create your own Google form and adapt it to your own needs. But yeah, I can do that.
Okay. Thanks for doing that, Jim. Anything else? Any other questions, or how are you all doing? Does this feel like a good check-in?
Yeah. I'll throw one of the good things about this coronavirus issue is that it's causing us to do things different at a resort. It's giving you the opportunity that if there's things you were doing you did not like doing, or things you'd like to change, now's the time to do it. We used to do fresh baked cookies every Saturday. We were cooking them in the kitchen and had them on a plate warm when the guests showed up, and Patty hated it. And she said, I ain't doing it no more. And I'm like, here's the opportunity to quit. So
yeah, this is it. I would love to be able to do that, but I don't know how you do, and I am not starting it. So yeah. Oh my gosh.
Clint, tell Patty I was all ready to make a reservation until you told me to cancel that.
Really? I tell you what, you buy them frozen from some Sandstroms, and you just throw them on the cookie sheet, cook them up, and it smells good in here and they taste good. But she hated doing it, so
yeah, that's so funny. Well, good. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not the expert by any means, but people are just really excited to relax and get away. And if that's what we have to offer, then honestly, it feels priceless in a way. And I think our guests are really responding to that. Last minute reservations, people who have been coming for 20 years, they all are just ready for a break. And another resort mentioned Half Moon Trail. I don't think they're on the call, but people are used to the rules, especially if they're coming from metro areas. They know what to expect. They're used to social distancing. They're used to long checkout lines and spacing 6 feet apart. And so when they come here, they still remember those things. You still think about them, but then they're also able to relax. So I think that's, I don't know. I think that's amazing that we can offer that right now. It's crazy time.
I'm kind of curious about what people are going to do as far as like activities that they used to do at the resort. We did bingo not last weekend, Memorial Day weekend. We did bingo because we felt we could social distance and still do that. Everybody could separate and sit out, but no, they all sat on the same table looking at each other. There wasn't any social distance at all, except for the caller, me. I was off in my corner. But, and we're thinking potlucks. How can we do potlucks like that? We're talking about maybe going to a movie night because we can probably practice social distancing on like a movie night type thing. So, I mean, there's some things there that I'm kind of curious as what everybody else is doing.
Yeah, what are you guys doing? We have low activities. We're probably not going to do our potluck. That's really the only thing we do. So Timberly, Jim, do you guys do activities? Anyone else that's still listening want to speak up? Mark Bloomquist, I see you. If you want to speak up, feel free. I'll unmute you.
We do activities, although that's been like on the back burner. Now I realize like that's getting to where we're going to have to figure that out. But we were trying, I mean, I think we'll probably be able to do a bingo some way, shape, or form. And we're going to try and do a movie of somehow. I don't know how minnow races would go unless I could do a sign-up sheet. Only so many people could do it, but then they're standing next to each other. So then, I don't know. So with that, I need to really work on, but I still want to do some sort of activities because that kind of has a resort feel for us. We've done that before. So we're still going to try and do something. Maybe like sanitize. How many places can you sanitize in a certain time frame?
I feel like that'd be hilarious. People get
sanitizing scavenger hunt.
There you go. Give everybody some wipes and away you go.
Well, my daughter is ready to be done, so I think I'm gonna call it. She has makeup on, ready for the call. If you can't see, feel free to follow up by, especially with activities. Joanna would be a great resource of what she's figured out. I'll follow up with her and have her, let us know what she ended up deciding about her bingo and things like that. But otherwise, thank you so much for being here tonight. I'm gonna be that person. Thank you. This is great connecting with you all, and so far our season has been really fun, really enjoyable, and so I hope the same for all of you as well. Let me know if you need anything, and we'll be in touch.
Bye.
Thanks, Kayla.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Bye.